Ate oni de karto sana. Tanda demba yena rang chingi ki chapchang konzo demba yena rang chingi ki ma chapti. Jama rang chingi chupchang kunda ki chin ma rang chingi ma. Zumba yena zumba tum kute jama de zumba yena zumba ma tu chi. Ta oh, different. Okay. Yeah. Jamande Zumba India, Zumba Matushi. Jama Zumba Inda. From the Barama Imbigizina, Jama Zumba Ins. Zumba Matushi. Zumba Inda, Zumba Matuzina, Kevin Jacoda, Senzambelula. Tisum the Menga Josu doesn't like it was some tonos. Kiwi Gui came Matangi, using Regima Kibate, Maupachi, Kila Manga Batatavasi. Kiwi tells him about the visiting to Chicago that the Devasens of Maragi, but Jazunda can got 2 days. The Mengan the Mega killing Gora. Since the Mega killing matter, it is Mengan Johnson, doesn't like you but 2 hours. Dan Gapa de Chitaneke Chimbuji Sungura Gapa de Gapi Eva de Hawaii and Mambuji, Pagi Penda Yunguare, Menga Tela Gapa the Mengapa Mengata Manga Niji Uchi Kazando de Pena Pakin Rosan, Dan Gapa Sivi Raji Jibiran Gaja Kashi Shijimaingadan Raji Jibin Rangi Gaja Musicheni Tovichi Mengasi Gaja Jenny either she Duvadam isn't that Mainga she Kirmata Me Sivita Da Me Sivigala Koran Dati never Koran Kazam Mother Zenda Tingi Tuki Pekayoma Hotati Mengasigore Ani legends of Munimozim is asking Mainga. That Mainga Jagoro. That is all. Example in Rosa Zuchi, Yanni and Lorna. Those Pendayungaris, some good at it.
Dingy got it double, Mengadi, what is the best thing to answer with Yare?
Doesn't like give us some too
Page 265, the ultimate truths necessarily exist by way of their own character, but conventional truths do not necessarily exist by way of their own character. This is because, this is the second paragraph on page 265, this is because other powered natures exist by way of their own character, but imputational natures, which are also conventional truths, do not exist by way of their own character, although they inherently exist and existed in their own right. So you can see here they kind of differentiate between true existence and the inherent existence, and you can read the note here too. falsities do not necessarily falsely exist, or although other power natures are falsities, they do not falsely exist. Proponents of sutra, proponents of mind only, and autonomous all agree in the presentation of 3 times the non-affirming negatives. So this one, as said here, sutra of mind only school and autonomous all agree on this subject 3 times the non-affirming, and this is, if you want to look back into what sutra school says, it's on page 230. Page 230, the definition of a negative phenomena is an object that is realized through the explicit elimination of an object of negation. And they, categorize that into 2 types of negation: non-affirming negatives and affirming negatives. The definition of, I'm reading on page 231, going back into Sutra school. The definition of non-affirming negative is an object realized by an awareness that has explicitly realized that objects within the context of only eliminating its negated element. And an example is Brahmins not drinking. So here, non-affirming and affirming negatives, we mentioned this before, the Sutra school. The first one is simply saying that, adding a not on, non. So here, Brahmin is not drinking beer. So what it is saying is he's not drinking beer. That's it. There's no other meaning beyond that. But the second, affirming negatives, is kind of the example. If you remember, here says, and fat that is not eating food during daytime. So that's fat guy not eating during daytime. What it is saying is actually nighttime he's eating, kind of indirect. So 2 kind of ways of negation. And about the 3 time, they also have the same interpretation. So that 3 time is page 233. Definition of pastness is that state of destructiveness in the next period after the time of an object. The object being a functioning thing that is other than its own pastness. And the definition of futureness of an object is that state of non-production of a thing, which is other than its future in some time and place due to the non-completion of subsidiary causes, although the main cause of its production is present. And definition of a present object is that which has been produced and has not ceased, still on the process of producing, is the present.
Ani pension sona da mitaba yang kapa chago mare. Ite indi wala ta mitaba jebetale mitaba tu indi gata reves so sogi maso gata mare lagre. Gata ina titu ngo yitu jela menga sungure. Koran sung gaba suna gata ingure se sungure. Ota tu sin tigana yan tari cheyong de la mitinda teli to siyongo are.
Kore kone suna komas.
Kunyin jansi pada pension sona tapani nam mita pangkapa imilai kibari ores. Kunyin jansi me mita pangkapa insungre. Pension sona tapagi mita pangkapa main sungre. Tati indikala ani pagi gata ta sutta sindi yang tayandai imilna di kibari ores. Maksudnya gapa mungkin tujuan gapa sona gata ingku mare. Tujuan menga sungguh gata lah. Ini pension sana dapat gapa sana, gata ingku re. Ini mita bang gapa ina, jangan dah mita batu tujuan gata re dulu. Itu sistem sungguh ada. So yang mitin batu tu, jadi kan mitin bayi unggu ada. Sebab itu mana ya re.
Makanya saya harus koma sini sebelah so tadi bulan ni.
Kunjung jangan siapa dah pension sana dapat ni, mita bang gapa ingin lagi kiri ores.
Dia dah harus dijadi kagda.
Oh. Ini mita pada kunjung jangan sebagai mita ba gapa rete cebetalan mita batu ini kalau te gata revese kecitina te gata mare sungguares gata ina kare ngor te ngoi gitu cile menga sungguares tujuh cile menga ini gata sungguares tenjengi gapa sunang gata inggur sungguar te itu kalau pension rula te 미다본 가버리잖아. 제거된다 미다부터 가다 이래도 거대한 미든 거 전부 차거리. 그런 때는 또 맞은 거 하고나 삼단에 해버리지나 부자대야 미든 거 이자대 하고 왜도 그 전부 차거리.
Justilani khodero tuguna konyo tuguna.
아이.
Kapada mega.
어때? 가다 무슨 지
So Geshe was saying, there are different interpretation of negative phenomena by different scholars. By like for example, impermanence, which is negative phenomena. It's kind of implying there's a negativity in there, but whether impermanence, simply saying impermanence is a negative phenomena or not, different scholars interpret in a different way. So Kunchen Jaban Sheba said that this is a negative phenomena. This is not is a negative phenomena, while Panchen Sonam Thapa, another great master, says that this is not a negative phenomena, and then they use kind of philosophical statement, which I sort of told Geshe that I didn't understood completely. It's so the point here, Geshe said, it's good to know that even for example like impermanent, it is commonly sort of understood as a negative phenomenon when you say impermanent, but different scholars still kind of interpret, in their own kind of, understanding, that some says it is negative phenomena, while others says that it isn't negative phenomena.
군진 제한지 거기 미다본 가봐 인세야 돼. 그냥 야가를 캐비 주면 되래. 고투고 가서랑 솔직히 순간 말이야.
So Kunchen Jaban Sheba, when he asserts that impermanence is a negative phenomena, of course he is not saying from his own level of understanding, but he quote this from sources from the Indian text.
야간 르본 추셔스니 개발 전부 주마. 재미 주마. 오늘 개발해. 공기 미다본에 따반 넘버 집에 가봐오서 지지요. 다티 이쿵 주고.
미다반에 그래?
따반 넘버 집에 가봐.
따반 넘버 집에 가고.
따반 넘버 집에 가봐.
So here, Kunchen, Sudamtawa, he, Jayan Sheba, he said before, he's not saying this just because, of his, just not only through his understanding, but, he quote from Indian text here specifically, he quote from Dharmakritis, Dharmakritis text, Reality Cognitive. And in that text, the Dharmakritis has a statement which says that impermanence is the clear kind of negation or explicit negation of the permanent phenomena. So kind of so here he kind of used the statement from quote from Indian masters.
Well, that didn't mean about it. Total so the then the young goddess. On what she said, 다 menga doesn't rush give us to know. So tongue abo, children of Madu Gans. Kujinam Shigit Tomo Maimbe, Legi Pajabe, Tunang Shibe, Zigitan Hiva in beaches. Da Zusotung abo, Pagi, Zunda, Tiro, Richatiso. Children to Pagini, Tubia Martin, Razutana, Pagini years into Tonguar, children to Tubia Marite, Ina. Pagi Quincy sing that Shiva Lumaten, Petake, Mandib Lumaten, Lumaten, Lumatena, Dib Lumaten, Mandib Lumaten, Yevenan, Mandib Lumaten, Quincy sing there. Any Tubaiki Namshele, try, Petaka Tower. Now, 대인들가라 긴디기 군신 남식이 당도 투모마이 바자자비 바자데 셀터로 봐 tumdere 마도 군시 당도 바자 마셀레 벤디 tumdere 파긴 이연데 벤디 뜻이지요 말했어요. 소소된 거 보여주기도 마두게 군시 남시 보다 군시 남시 생이 만두로 마페 아니 벤디 배 시바 타모르다 시바 군시 진시기 남실레 시바 타레 그 군신도나 니인도고 니 맞아 군시 자식이가 말 대인들가라 니 자들까지 남시 책임도는 다 루차되어 어디 기시 순거래 이게 그 밖에 운다티로 레자송은 밖에 군시 바자 세트를 파투브레스 지게는 개와 이미지 남된 발다나 주주된 거 버치로도 마두냐 라바투바 켈레 남좀 발다나 치로던도 줍게 라바마투바 켈레노스 남좀 발다네 군신되고 나와 아니 유시투마는 되고 아마라 다들 이제 개발대 차소를 어떻게지
Page 226 to 266, I'm sorry, last paragraph. The five sense objects, forms and so forth do not exist as external objects because they are produced within the substantial entity of an internal consciousness through the power of predisposing latencies established by common and uncommon actions in the mind basis of all. So here, as you see here, the five sense object forms and so forth do not exist as an external object because they are produced within the substantial entity of an internal consciousness through the power of predisposing latencies established by common and uncommon actions in the mind basis of all. The mind basis of all is the thing that you need to know here. This is the mind basis of all. Generally, most of the school, that when they list the consciousness, they list the six consciousness. And but this school, particularly this section here, is based on the school who asserts eight consciousness. So on top of this, six consciousness, they have this one as the seventh mind basis of all, and the eight is afflictive, afflictive mind or consciousness. So you might, I think we might cover this before. So there are eight kind of consciousness, and here they are saying that the mind basis of all kind of its role here, and the mind basis of all, according to the this particular mind only school, they kind of says that the mind basis of all by nature is a neutral consciousness or neutral mind, and the neutral mind they further kind of categorize into obscured neutral mind and non-obscured neutral mind. So this mind basis of all is a non-obscured neutral mind, and this is much subtler than the sixth consciousness, which we commonly called major mind or main consciousness. So this is much subtler than that sixth consciousness. So if any school of thought, if they assert this mind basis of all, then it kind of indirectly forces them to assert the afflictive, another next consciousness, afflictive consciousness. So therefore, this is based on, as said before, school who asserts, eight consciousnesses, not only six. The true expectarians assert that the five sense objects, form and so forth, are not external objects but do exist as gross objects. The false expectarians maintain that if such were the case, then forms and so forth would have to be external objects. Therefore, they assert that the five types of sense objects do not exist as gross objects, although they do, of course, except part and whole. So here the false expectarians maintain this mainly because they don't assert this mind basis of all consciousness.
춘이라 구지민 달이 땡그리 나 juntemenala yang tawala kunjingmi tene tengen tenya tani yongdo yongdi galata tenya gi pari kunjisi ning dhana ya Tonta Pagi, Luma then do, Revarin do, Deep Luma then do, the tower. Ta Revaina, Tawatan de la, Nipe, Kuji Ming Tani, Tembade, Haku for it. Ko Pagi Tenji, you Kuji de Madib Lumatina, Sensabe, Tandi, Navja Tagan and Kuji de Loco.
And this, particular consciousness, mind basis of all, which in Tibetan is kun, shi, kun means all, and shi means basis. So mind basis of all, which is sort of one consciousness in mind-only school. So here, you might encounter this same word in different kind of scriptures, but one needs to be careful of this meaning of the particular word, mind basis of all, because this is used sometimes in a different sense. Sometimes in some scriptures, mind basis of all refers to the nature of the phenomena, not consciousness itself. And in some tantric texts, this kind of mind basis of all refers to the concept. And you read the kind of whole section of whatever text, and then try to get the understanding of that this particular word putting into the context. So here, as we said before, when mind only says that mind, when this mind only school use word mind basis of all, it refers to neutral mind, which is obscured. Non-obscured, so neutral in a sense that if you look at the consciousness, sometimes it could be a positive consciousness, sometimes negative. But here they are saying kind of neutral, and within the neutral, it's kind of non-obscured.
Kunji zete, kunji zene, thosa son chaza, kunji namshi thoje nane, yepati ingwe yo maris. Tati, pagi, jepa nane, yu pagi. Then yon to gala, qui, more the condition Jayon, the Gawa Jagato, Luma than Jagato, Luma than Yenai, Deep Luma than the do, Mandib Luma than the do. The two Jepache, any Lucian, Deep Luma Tina, what a Kuji, Kona, no hair of Mari. Mandib Luma Tina, the new Namjetakin and Kuji Leja. A Gawaina, any Tawala Kowaya, what a Tushini.
So again, as said before, mind basis of all, when you find in different texts, you need to understand according to the context that it is used. So if it is used, as a kind of, positive or virtuous, activity or state, then that refers to kind of concept. And if it is used, like here, neutral but non-obscured, then it refers to the mind basis of all, which is a consciousness, one of the consciousness of the mind-only school. So, simply seeing the mind basis of all, when you encounter it, doesn't mean that, it doesn't refer to the mind-only school's understanding. And in the Kala Chakra, text, great seal practice of other emptiness. It's a big concept in Kala Chakra, and sometimes they also use this, mind basis of all to kind of, represent this their concept.
Lungi jena namshi tsogin de igin na brashba kuji namshi to kelenjing kuji namshi she kansa to kelenjing ribi jena na ki igin na brashba kansa ke tsin de da tela kuji namshi ni nangi pacha la mishin nambari su macheba mandib no maten to sunjung kondonga khona da thumbar dambe zo igin na bi khebar chendu Rabtu Chevante dos, Kundo Nasidgala, Semkange Cordon Senjung Mayore. Dumba Meba Temba Matima Kunga Dumba Meba Temba Sheraton Ade, evening Aji. 군동아 소환 뒤지 삼바라 방아 군동아 래 어디 야 프로테 그랑 오데 마드로마 임발라 프로테 심중 군동에 콜라도 그래 세송도 하나 단 자기 초대는 동에 이리가라 즉 오늘 유니 구지생인데 와다 된듯이 저 이긴 넘버 리발라 템베 rabdu chawajilan toto deyang di mandib ngile mandib loma thing staji kondu la ta ga de gesa chebi da mandib loma thing da de kande sile sena kunji de gesa chebi gile yobe dewa ma ko gesa chende nge kasa yule yo insa dewa ma re yo ina ku yona da gesa yoyo ro de gesa chebi gile yeza dewa ma re 감고는 예비 미거와 많이 넣었어. 다 감고는 여인장 그 미거 말해. 미거이나 감고 말해. 여 말해 쓰는 거 어떻게 많이 있지. 이게 유전들 야부도 와. 그래서 제비길라 예비 고개와를 여 말해. 감고는 여인장 미거와 말해. 인장 그 만들로만 되는
Page 267, assertions regarding object possessors, that is subjects. The followers of scripture, mainly the followers of Asanga, assert 8 consciousnesses, as we mentioned before, 8 consciousnesses. Therefore, they assert that the mental consciousness and the mind basis of all is the person. The followers of reasoning, mainly the followers of Dharmakirti, assert that the mental consciousness is the illustration of a person, that is the person. Next page 268. The followers of scripture assert that mind basis of all observes the 5 senses, the 5 objects, and the internal latencies. The mind basis of all has aspect of not discriminating its objects. It does not notice its object and cannot induce another consciousness to notice objects. And its entity is undefiled and neutral. So undefiled, the word that I use is non-obscured, the same meaning here, non-obscured and neutral. It is a constant main mind associated only with the 5 omnipresent mental factors. So here, the mind-only school is kind of, this particular school is more explaining with detail about, what is the mind basis of all. So, it says here, it's constant main mind associated only with 5 omnipresent mental factors. And the 5 omnipresent mental factors are mentioned here, contact, feeling, discrimination, intention, and mental activity. And moreover, from among the 2 possibilities of being defiled or non-defiled, it is non-defiled and neutral. A mind basis of all is not virtuous because it exists in the continuum of one whose roots of virtue are severed. It is also not non-virtuous because those of the upper realms, the form and formless realms, have a mind basis of all. Therefore, it is neutral. So, as said here, they use this reason to prove that the mind basis of all is a neutral state of mind. It is not virtuous. It is not non-virtuous. And
감 공원 쓰다가 주간다 주매 가는 거
the teacher. So the high upper realms, Vijula said, I said it's already written here, the form and formless realms in your text.
이 가르잖아 감고나 초라 동안 요 말을 쓴 거야. 초라 아니 다른 바기 3대 2바이나 초라 당연마다 요 말이. 인디 감고메 셈데 셈하장 탐어리 되어. 그 말아서 3대 인무지 3대 담보 녀도 되죠. 할리비 셈 탐어. 인디가 랑아주 이진이 두근데서 공메 셈데 두고 담보 셈 탐어데. 셈 템보 쉬우시샤디어. 인디 이 콜라 미거 기니요 말아요 말어. 아니 좋아돼. 좋아 당념이라. 그러니까 something tampula throw dewa yungware throw dewa what is something jibe nguji to nguzula throw tangyumre throw tangyum yungware 어때 다 대주고도 뉴이디 송도 뉴이싱이 가르치시나 뉴니 미바 군실에 미네 남바 마르심베 나바전 모 디플로마테 디바 딱고 뇨모쟁이 생인데 디바나네 롱마테 보다 디플로마테 또 주시도 근저수 지당 투노 세대다 어는 일단 이게 넘버십에는 이게 넘버십으로 두 여러 왔다 때가라 중국어라 어떤 지든 투노 강가다 퉁그래 세말랑 무슨 참마다 무진이다 세말랑 무슨 무진이다 무슨 진 남자 텔렌징스 왕방 무슨 이게 무슨 나저 무슨 라비 무슨 지들때 다 세마 수디가라 그상아주 소소진다래 sartu milubiri baasti temitingire ta sartu milubiri baasido sartu tangpo am toba tangpo jawa sarsiyate tini milu asidigala dila ni be chik muyen nisu khora kare shipe pagi jale muyen nisu de luwa me pape je ne be 즉 러브단 된데기 로스 된데기 끼면봐 네배 밀루아데 송거다 서도 밀루비바 세미칭 시디가라 다 인디가라 하게 무슨 참아이나 그지 당보대 참아자고로 무슨 당 제가 가리나 니가 인제 제시를 자고 개개다 뭐 제시 자고 그래 원장 세마 강가를 겨그려잖아 띠 말이다 나랑 그기 무슨 거지 당보 제가 거지 당보 세마리 나중 무슨라 딱 거지 니바 나 숨바도 강가 아니베 세마라 하게 되어 가르잖아 코네 가나주 지금 초장세 세마만인 군견다 세말라 사도 그 마차보 마서로 세송도 오늘 남편 거지 당부 니바 숨바대서 오늘 율라 기대 라운드 뛰냐 비철라 사도 인비 찹되어 남편라 아니 가르사 제시자 시야 거는 말와 어디 기기 양 kenguore 아니 대지 무슨 참아지 원봉은 좀 이기고 좀 나중은 좀 라링은 좀 다 라리싱인데 하나 코너 첩이 쉐바시고 아주 쉐바찌기 유래 쉐바 다 그래서 마부 아저리 하고 있게 어떻게 인디가라 라리기 친이란 진남스거든 진남 제리 아니 제리기 쉐바세데 중남스고래 율 바기 율 남바숭되네 남 데라 중남스 제리기 쉐바스고래 어떻게
The object of page 269, the object of observation of an afflicted mind is the mind basis of all. Its aspect is that of considering the mind basis of all to be substantially existent or self-sufficient. Its entity is defiled and neutral. Their way of presenting the six operative consciousnesses agree with the general Buddhist presentation of these six. Both followers of scriptures and followers of reasoning assert that prime cognitions are of two types, direct and inferential. They also assert a presentation of four types of prime cognition. So the prime cognition, we mentioned this before, the previous school of thoughts. Prime cognition is, cognizing for the first time, and which is not mistaken. So they also assert the presentation of 4 types of direct prime cognition, and these 4 types are mentioned here: sense, self-cognizing, mental, and yogic prime cognitions. Self-cognizing direct perceptions and yogic direct perceptions are necessarily non-mistaken consciousnesses, because they are not infected by the false appearance of subject and object as different entities. The prime cognitions, whenever we perceive a thing for the first time, it is considered as the prime cognitions. And for the ordinary human being, the first moment is called a prime cognition, and the second moment, we mentioned this before, is called a subsequent cognition. For yogic practitioners, or for the enlightened being, there is no subsequent cognition. Whatever they perceive is valid, and here self-cognizing, we also mentioned this before. Self-cognizing is the Tibetan word ranglik, which actually means consciousness perceiving a consciousness. So and the meaning in the scripture, it says, grasping nature, Zin Nam. There's only 2 words for its meaning. Zin means grasping, Nam means nature. And then there is another one, other cognizing. And the other cognizing here refers to the cognizing of the form or aggregate.
Rari ngusumla, najo ngusumla matuli shibekyap. Namdembi surtungi ngunzi mishila matuli shibat las. Namzumbi teltar surtungi wambe ngusumla tushigi kyap yes. Ta surtung sidi susikyo ngarang dili. Papa kajamashi, surtung sidi susikyo. Susikyo yugi tapai ngunzi mishi nada, ta ngunzi mishi nada, senzi mishi nada, kachi susikyo yugi mishi dela tulchiyo matu shiban dela as. Namzubi digi kila tulchigi jagre. Karjana ko pagi shitenu nangido, pagi niyabazimi tindi ko pagi tosu nawada leba judi yor tindi tulchi reseti yor. Namzubi namdembe tende mare ti ko karina surdong yugi nishi tigi matuare ko yul jalzul wone koran yul ngumada koi jaldi karsawarta shebagi tongdi yor tindi yul ngumi nambade te ning zimbari tindi tulio mare se sungware. Ota tindi tulchi yin zirzalai yan chik kebarduwa ota tizu chik. Digi ngusumla tulmatuwa chanyi wan dodozi. Ta surdong igi ngusumla tuli cha, matuli cha. Tindi ta tuli cha karajangu. Matu cha karajangu. Ota tizu chi samtangu ware. Ta chega jimadamida ni duwadana mare.
Page 272, paragraph. True expectorians assert that an eye consciousness is in the continuum of the short-sighted, that here says ordinary being, that apprehends blue is non-mistaken consciousness. So again, there's a differences of assertion between these two, true expectorians and false expectorians. So true expectorians saying that eye consciousness is in the continuum of short-sighted, or the literal translation, in Tibetan, one who looks nearby, that refers to an ordinary being. So, when we apprehend blue color, they are saying that this is not mistaken consciousness. But false expectorians says that another, way. According to the false expectations, all sense direct perception in the continuum of the short-sighted are necessarily mistaken consciousnesses. So this is it has to be mistaken consciousnesses, because this false expectations says that when we see a blue color, there is a kind of understanding within us that what we see is kind of out there and not in the mind. So also they assert that mental direct perceptions in such a continuum are of two types, mistaken and non-mistaken. So we just said we're going to stop here, and we'll have remaining time for discussions and questions. We said should be helpful if you are interested to have kind of formal group discussion, and probably what Geshe-la is saying here, kind of teaching might not be complete or totally kind of understandable. So it might be helpful if you are really interested in this formal group discussion, and and especially in the translated book there are notes given notes other than the translation itself in your book. So read those book notes, and then kind of discuss what Geshe-la said, and then that he thinks that that should be kind of more helpful. Because that from his side, he should be actually teaching with preparation by reading commentaries by other scholars, but he don't do that much often because of his spending more time in his practice recitation, and whatever he's sharing here is mainly what he learned many years. 20 years before, so many has been kind of disappeared within those years. He's just trying to kind of fulfill the instruction by His Holiness, because His Holiness wants people to kind of have more understanding of Buddhist tenets. So he's just trying to follow his instruction, and it's kind of hard to have complete satisfaction of the teaching, because this teaching of tenets it's not easy. It's not easy reading, and also not easy to understand. So as I said, we did this teaching before when Geshe-la is down in Greenwood. We start with like this class, a lot of people, but it ends up with few people. So it's not easy like other Buddhist texts, the reading and concept and everything. So we said, when we begin this class, it's kind of crowded. Now I can see a number of people here. So this kind of tells, it's not an easy job.
science for the timber pemango ani tawade pe ngone chikagi Korang tumu mahimbe pagi gacha kareng pagi tiji haku kore. Itu sih tawe ni seji tenyo le tumta de tawe chani tumta ji che bare. Jobi chani keba sumbi che yongwa. Nanda sangi de. Joba ne be ni ji zewa chi yena ya. Zewa gachi jung bo ne en ti ji. Nyen de ra yal chanchu. Zewa che chao jobi chani chen bo de. 어떻게 동타지 개발 간데스 치. 주비 이 개발송기 개발도 주비에서 간데스 치. 그래서 하고 봐도 꽤 친구들 오네. 소시. 오마제나 또 소랑라 빙기래. 마음바나니 수수 나랑도 로샤 그랬대. 이부터 망하면 숨샤게 되는데 지금 또 라기지 지지지라. 지제 좀나 가지지 또스 라기 가시 야 누스지네.
One of the main reasons why the text is difficult is because we are learning the actual philosophy or concept of the Buddhism, and the text only tells what is the concept here and kind of what is the object of negation. It's a kind of very unique assertion by different schools. And but when we talk about the practice as kind of categorized into three vehicles, and the practice is more based on, for example, like extent of the practice of compassion. Heroes, solitary realizers, and then Mahayana. So start with kind of limited compassion, then as you extend and Bodhisattva's vehicle is the highest level up. So that is more based on practice, and the part of the reason why we are trying hard to understand is this teaching, of course, of Buddhist tenets. It's came from a long history of Buddhism, and in order to survive, preserve Buddhist teaching into kind of future. It is kind of important to try to study and learn what we have from the past masters. Any questions? And it's hard for me too as a translator.
If I understood you right, the eight conscious of the reflective mind is necessary because the mind
군시 캔레스나 녀에디 캔랭고에 지직 송송서 다다고는 디 가르치는 중재 가르쳐 전다 컨트롤션 뜻이라고 그랬어. 군시 캔랭 녀에 캔랭고 지그랬어.
디디 단다디는 로서 하스와 뉴이시디 디도아 군시리 네 양 가르사 뉴이디 니바 군시레 미고라 뉴이 고랑게 니바 군시레 미네 퀸 넘버데 나스메 넘버 진기 데 인자 니 세바데 군시 라 민데게 나스메 넘버 진 바기 이세다에 많이 된지 때 보르바 양 군시레 라파고 녀모 진기 세바시 군시 맞아나도 고 인지미지 자과예요 말 녀모다 녀모마 보였대 간단하 니 세데 군시레 도서 라과 이실레 타와 에 니버 군시 민데게 남바 나스메 남알 때 엔디시 차려
넘버 나르심베
남바 나스메 남바지
나르심베나 다르자 가래
강
나르심베
나랑 센버스메 사스 나르셈
the reason why one has to accept this afflicted consciousness is because those school who accept mind basis of all, they also asserts that for the afflicted consciousness, their target or their object of the observation is the mind basis of all. So the afflicted mind, as compared to the mind basis of all, is much kind of gross. But as compared to the sixth mental consciousness, it's more subtle. So there is a mind kind of according to this eight consciousness school who assert this eight consciousness, they have this kind of mind which doesn't fit in the sixth major mind, but neither it fits in the mind basis of all. So they come up with this afflicted or deluded and which targets which use mind basis of all as its target or object of the observation. And the nature of the mind here, it's kind of intense or strong or powerful, which that's the nature, and it aimed at the mind basis of all. But the general nature of the mind is afflicted or deluded. So and this comes under kind of defiled neutral consciousness or mind when you categorize. So according to those school who assert this afflicted mind, and mind basis of all is not defiled. So, as said before, the mind basis of all, when it is used in the context of positive mental or factor or positive mind, it it automatically means that it is not mind basis of all. It is the concept or philosophy we mentioned before, but using in different context, the word kind of the meaning of the word changes. So sort of follow that defiled neutral mind refers to the afflicted consciousness or mind here. I'll try to look at this book, but this book is kind of too simple. It's too kind of too brief to understand. But I have no choice other than using this book, because this book, as I said before, it's if you read and spend enough time, it's really a standard translation. You have a question?
I had read in Mind and Life book by His Holiness, they were talking about like sleeping and dying states, and he gave a brief overview of the four schools, and then like the nature of mind in mind only and middle way, and then the nature of mind in Tantra when they're talking about like the subtle dying state. And it seems like mind only asserts this really subtle mind that's like a solid thing, and then when you hear about like Book of the Dead, and they speak of like the clear light subtle consciousness, but those two, the thing that's asserted as the age consciousness in mind only, and the clear light from like Book of the Dead and some of the tantric teachings, those aren't the same?
You mean mind basis of all 8 consciousnesses?
Like the 8 consciousness that we're talking about here, and then like when Book of the Dead speaks of like clear light, or when they talk about like the clear light of dying, those are 2 separate things.
Well, take the law and say, the mind and life like those, and the now any symptom better to Nag Shung in the Polar Semgi Rangshin Kol Song Shasa. Then symptom beggy Sim Calore, Tamigi Rangshin did any the Casa Nag and Angola. The hero has a clear light like those. Then so Coachipado Railroad.
다 어설을 민다나 지 어설 어설 민다 니기 어설세 어설라 드라마 보시는 거였어요. 나는 또 배심 트라기 림바데 그런 딜이 나는 타타로 그러와.
So we said, for the clear light itself, there are many different kind of stages or level. So, as you go up higher into the school of thoughts, the clear light, although used by different school of thoughts, becomes more subtler and subtler.
여러분지야는 송도. 아주 완전 니 레바던데 니 류왕 야니 니왕 된디 레바던데 셰바데 지단이라 바레스. 다 딜레 니 쿠디와 왕보데 텐종 왕보로와 텐 충받자마다 왕비 자와치기 왕보로와 텐지 대자마도 왕비 자와치 마치고 가라 디 갑기 셰바 딜레 타노 거와 디니 야와 디니 방에 치시 타모도 비어가라 야 딜레 타노 거와 응아라도 니 라마키부 담바티노 돈에 유고 투점 되게 됐어 봐 이 투점 되기가 가는데 뉴만 린치 기베 어설스기도 때가 처음으로 다들 샘 처음 오네 난 띵원도 줄나 다 상기 거 시거 해야 되겠다 어떻게 갑자기 땅부 차 내인 거기 디붕 티바다 가든 티바니가 진나 페디가라 니들 떠나지도 따데디가라 땅부 치어데가라 치지도 로랑 봐 이거네 너 차상 줄로도 쓰다 근데 주지 라준데다 아니 배 양손 냠스네 아니 되게 구중가마 가수이나 때나지 차네 배 내가 벌써 탄도 가보자니 아니면 이게 가수주네 되지 못해 린치 뉴만 린치 기도 어설 때리 원도 교대 대강 수로 한다지 조담 주세요 때리다 때문에 다시 한번 참으시 가장 참지 않아요 어설은 트라마 보였어요 네 나도 지금 말이야 저런지 연 소리 하고다
as said before, the clear light itself can be classified into different stages based on the subtlety. So, for example, when His Holiness gives teaching, he refers to this point, saying that the consciousness that is directly sort of related or using a brain or related to the brain is most gross at the most gross level, and then during sleep, it becomes most subtle. The reason is the consciousness is using a brain as a foundation, but the brain itself is not kind of consciously functioning. It's just a conscious. So it becomes more subtle, and then when one becomes sort of unconscious, I don't know if that's the right way of saying or not, but it still becomes more subtle. And then at the time of dying, the consciousness becomes much more subtler. And then as the great practitioners, when they passed away, clinically dead, but they still maintain their consciousness. We call it holding on to the mind or consciousness. So when people examine how they kind of still hold on to the subtle consciousness, and that consciousness actually is referred to as the innate kind of clear light mind. So that's the most subtlest level of the consciousness. So when abbot of the monastery Paskaj said, two of them, when they passed away, they maintained on this subtle consciousness for several weeks, months. And when people examine how that happened, they saw the they examined the process of consciousness changing within the mind or brain. So the first stage they saw is they when you look at the physical appearance, they just die like a regular people. There's all changes at the physical appearance, and then gradually they sort of come back into life, because now they are kind of going back, or they are using subtle consciousness. Subtle consciousness is kind of coming on the surface. So they become kind of freshen up, and body looks kind of fresh, just like awake, alive, although they are dead. And then they stay on that subtle consciousness for weeks and months. So the way His Holiness kind of says, it looks like very that there are different levels of subtle consciousness itself.
라달라 와서 이진권 라마도 지는 배 니마 든지 라지 도담 주고 윤두이나 풍부 파긴 더네 니마주 라달라 니마 숨자가 숨자도가 나선데 김에칸 그래 뭔가 마다 가래나 단다 자요 그래서 니 베서가 주시자도 지는 배서 단다 꾸줄 지마기는 미도스도 소야스다 버지라
니마 가지시는
다도 다 드린 보다 당도 정하러 와 거기 그냥 보다 중이 베서가 주진이신 배도 와 단다 꾸줄자도 두담라다 니마 주지마도 주마서다
죽지
ini tudam de tola labrani gumpa de lido tanda gumpa pe ki khochi tini shute jusha ese tanda kuzul timan ki nido sa
so the living example, as I said, the Lama of the monastery Gartland Rinpoche in Ladakh, he passed away last month, and he stayed on the subtle consciousness for 11 days. But his body is still there, although he's out of the subtle consciousness. But the body doesn't, usually even the coldest, day during winter, when people keep crops in their house, after 3 days it starts smelling and get rotten. But his body is still kind of fresh for although it's died for more than a month, it's still there. So it's kind of looking from the modern scientific understanding, it's really kind of strange. It shouldn't be happening that way.
the kiran tanda tosa hako ko yena karma ba digaran ni jingle perwa america ko mari ti jette tuwa so no ta ndo
And to understand more about these things, because I said you can look at the Karmapa, he passed away in America, and you can read and
ishe jin person ishe the chode chimina road target America jin feather America means rota ya ka ka se ke
So if great lamas they passed away in some of the Asian countries, out of great respect and faith, people might exaggerate, but when they passed away in America, people won't do the same thing. So there's kind of sort of a good chance to see what exactly is the fact.
So okay nyamjipche isotji ta nguyuni si tona eni khu ngaran zo nyamni chela pendo jibun kri samgare.
And through your examination and reading and understanding, and so it's not only gain knowledge, but will be should be helpful for your own practice.
Tendawate rang njuna ngondi kuresende ngazi nyumalinchi kibe osende ngazi gilo yorwa yade telo risi gorwa
So this is what we call Buddha nature, the innate subtle consciousness or clay-like mind that we possess, all of us, and if we make an effort, it is something that is achievable by all of us.
가질 맨나 다티 캔서를 왔대 캔서 작을 와 그런가 연댕인지 가실을 뭔데 그 가실을 배대게 되니 주도 가실 제면 되게 수직 냠내 내기다 침바로 왔대 이렇게 달라 reality 선이도.
So this subtle mind or clay-like mind, if they exist in some people and some not, then there is kind of excuse that we can make, but this is something that is equally existing in all peoples, and therefore the only reason we can say why some people can still stay kind of alive after death is because of their practice.
Yeah.
Rave kove jingam pendan dewa male jongwe ne jere se wan den jin jansu shave zede bardo den joje jambe bawe jile hemba kondo sangbo de an de shen de da kunge je son dalo yawa de da tamje rabdo mo jusun shaben yawa tamje Owa panga chodo ngabo de da jin gewe tawa de sambo junje rabdo moragi. In the land encircled by snow-white mountains, the source of all happiness and benefits flows near person, chain, sitting, singyaso, remain until samsara ends. Just as the bodhisattva usually attain omniscience and samanda bhata true, so now to David these matters to train and grow. As all the big forces of those past, present, and future, praise dedication to the Supreme. So now I too dedicate these sources of honors for all things to come.
Oh, yeah, thank you.